Hello, everybody, and welcome to my presentation on CyberSecure Canada certification and what it means for your business. I hope everyone's had a chance to take in some of the great sessions at our annual roadshow this year. We've been pretty excited to do this in a virtual way. With everything that's going on, I think it's important we all still connect, and we're very pleased to be offering this. So first, let's get to know each other a little bit. My name is Jeff Shaw. I'm the Chief Operating Officer for Bulletproof and one of the original founders of the company. So that's been 20 years ago. Certainly been a great experience for me as we've grown the company over the years and continue to develop different service lines. My role is really in service delivery to support Bulletproof's growth and ensure that all our divisions are running strongly, and work very closely with sales and business development to make sure that happens. And over the years, I've always played a key role in growing our cyber security services. In fact, I was our first security analyst, and that's been close on 20 years. Steve Burns got out ahead of me a few months selling some security assessment services, and I joined the company and came in behind, started filling those services in. And that's really the beginning of Bulletproof and a little bit of background on me. So just a little overview agenda, what to expect from today's session. So, I'd like to start with some recent news, just to put some context to, what we're going to talk about, really build the foundation for the discussion. Also have some survey data that is interesting, and I think is going to be very relevant to the audience here. And whether your organization is public sector, whether you're a small medium business or a mid-sized organization, I think there are things that you can take from this session. Even the large organization is going to have a role to play in this security framework and certification program. So we'll get into the details of that, go through the CyberSecure Canada overview, and then I'm going to flip to the end into discussions about how we help. So as a certification body, but also as a service provider that is familiar with the standards that are expected with this certification. So I hope everybody's feeling cyber secure. I know with everything that's going on in the news, you always have that in the back of your mind about how is my organization postured for security, and how well are we protected, and what is the latest security risk that's out there. So some of the news articles that I've pulled forward here, just to really give some context to the volume of events that are going on, the type of events. So this is a recent article from February, and it was about breaches in the public sector, across Canada. And you may wonder, what's the relevance to small medium business certification and that type of thing. But I think, while I don't have the exact data associated with this, I know that a certain percentage of these breaches occur within the government supply chain. So if you think of, a very common one that we've heard in the news where, a backup tape, goes missing from a courier delivery service, and, that's recorded as a breach. And loss of data, potentially sensitive data, like medical, personal health information, Medicare numbers, those types of things. So often the risk in larger organizations is not only kind of within their own organization, but can be all the way down their supply chain to very small service organizations that are providing key services, but may not have the standard that a larger organization can put together to build their security up. And that's why it's very important to kind of consider this certification from that perspective. It's a way that you, as a larger organization, can influence your supply chain. You can encourage them to take the certification and improve their security so that we can prevent a certain number of these breaches from happening. There's some interesting statistics here, right? And right across, almost all public sector organizations, including, Canada Revenue Agency and Health Canada. So, that would obviously be very sensitive information. And in all honesty, that we're probably not seeing all the data as it indicates here. So, it's something that continuously happens. So the breaches are getting larger and more frequent. I pulled this Wawa data breach forward. I do some traveling in the U.S. Our parent company is based down there, and I'm often down in New Jersey or New York. And close by all the places I stay, there's always a Wawa store. As far as fueling up or just getting some drinks or snacks or whatever, you're in there, you don't think twice about it, right? But at the end of the day, all of these locations have fallen victim to malware on their payment systems. So that means that credentials are compromised, right? And your credit card data could be out there on the dark web as a result of this breach for auction. So, I get every once in a while a reach out from a company that says you were involved in a cyber breach, and sometimes they offer. I was in the Target one. They offered to do credit monitoring for a year, that type of thing, and that's great. But I mean, at the end of the day, what we really want to do is step up the game and try to prevent these things from happening in the first place. And this one was really interesting. I do work here in New Brunswick with Cyber NB and the Critical Infrastructure SOC project. And, critical infrastructure resilience is a really important topic. And at the end of the day, something like this in their operational technology network, which, if you think about a pipeline, it's the switches and the PLCs that control the relays, the volume of gas, those types of things. That's pretty really urgent stuff, right? And it translates to power utilities or to other water utilities, that type of thing. So people getting in and mucking with control systems or attacking a control system potentially to bring it down is really, really concerning. And so, they initially got through with a phishing attack, and we see these in our email all the time, right? They send in a targeted email. Maybe they make it look like it's from someone high up in the organization, and before you know it, you've clicked on that and given them, maybe some kind of information that they were looking for, whether they were asking you to rush a wire out the door. Seen that from quite a few clients. Or they're, just trying to get you to give up your password, right? That's the most common thing. And some of them, will even set up a little app on their site to drop some malware on your system. So it's important that the systems are protected from that type of thing. So this is really scary stuff in the news for sure. So just a little bit of the survey data that I was talking about before. So this survey is from the 2018 Canadian Survey of Cybersecurity and Cybercrime by Stats Canada. And 21% of businesses reported they were impacted by a security incident and that it affected their operations. Now, I'm not sure when I look at the data here on the small side, the 19%, I think it's probably a little bit low. I think that small businesses, don't tend to report as much. On the other side, they can often be unaware, of a situation that they may have been impacted, but may not connect the dots to a cybersecurity incident if they don't have, IT staff who can look into it and that type of thing. So I think the number is probably more comparable to the medium and large organizations, but I think this is good data to be aware of. So it's significant if we're saying even 1 in 4 businesses are affected, right? That's pretty significant, and it is a large cost to Canada's economy to have this kind of downtime. And when you talk about downtime that's in the context of a ransomware attack, where critical operations data or everything that the company has from an intellectual property perspective is encrypted and lost. At the end of the day, some of the smaller businesses can't survive that, right? And at the end of the day, may be impacted to such an extent that they need to shut down, right? So it is very serious. So, as we talked about on the previous slide, a large percentage of the businesses experience some downtime as a result of the incidents. And when they total up the average across the statistics, you were looking at about 23 hours of downtime on average. And, that's fairly significant. If you can think of, having to put a hold on processing orders, or you think of a point of sale system that's not available and you're turning away customers unless they have cash. I don't know, we've all gone through the drive-through somewhere where they said, hey, cash only, debit machines down. Well, why is that system down, right? And what's the impact? And it does impact the business significantly. And then, as more and more of this becomes prevalent in the news and in our day-to-day activity, we get the phishing emails, we get a constant buzz of, people trying to take advantage of us. People are recognizing that it's not like an automated thing, that they are external parties that are responsible for the incidents that are impacting them. So, and that number is up to 65%. So, end of the day, why should you care as a small, medium business, small, medium organization? What would a new certification standard have to offer me? So there's a few things here, like the new mandatory breach reporting rules that came into effect from our privacy legislation. That's significant. All breaches must be recorded. Significant breaches must be reported to the commissioner. And, if you take those first couple of bullets and think about that, when they investigate an incident and you can't demonstrate that you have, properly taken care of, the key element of privacy data protection, that can reflect poorly on your organization. So, it's a reputation risk. At the end of the day, we've all seen, in the news, if a privacy commissioner, will slam an organization for, whatever happened, and may do that in a public way, in a media brief or whatever. So at the end of the day, it's something that is significant, because, it can't just be under the rug. It's got to be reported. And, if they're significant, you got to make that report. And so, the certification gives an opportunity to differentiate and enhance that reputation as an organization that takes their customers' data seriously, takes their own employee data seriously, and wants to protect it, right? And I really believe that leads to an increased competitive advantage. You're building customer trust. You're giving them confidence that you're looking after things, that you have things handled. I know, when we see often organizations that you deal with may ask, through surveys or questionnaires, what are your security practices? When you go to get your cyber insurance coverage, that can also be enhanced by having something like this. So it's a recognized process, a badge that's right sized for you, and ultimately the goal, the Canadian government has in mind for this is to reduce that downtime and expense to the economy from cyber incidents by implementing more effective safeguards. So the next few slides give credit and acknowledgement to I said for these. I did want to incorporate them because it's the overview of the program, and I think it's important to go through that with you today. So, we talked about this already leading up to here, but They are becoming more sophisticated, they are becoming more frequent, and they are becoming increasingly harmful. And the government of Canada recognizes this, and that's why they believe that small, medium organizations should be concerned about the cyber threats and should move toward doing something that's increasing their safeguards and increasing their cyber protections. So what is the solution? So there's gaps, and they see the risk, and they are key contributors to the economy at the end of the day. So, you know, I talked about this earlier, supply chains are critical, right? When we think about everything that's been going on with the COVID-19 situation, healthcare supply chain, is very critical in this. The ability to supply PPE, equipment, regular operating equipment, keep the flow of goods moving among healthcare facilities, and that's a really critical supply chain. And there is risk in that supply chain, and at the end of the day, when this was happening, we put out offers to that supply chain in particular, for some business continuity, free training, free cybersecurity awareness and testing training. We just wanted to somehow chip in and help with that. So that was one of the things that we did around COVID-19, and I think it's important that supply chain is protected. And so, at the end of the day, people that are infected can be investors in these companies, often the customers, and there's international partnerships that come into play. You think about the European standards, which are some of the most stringent in the world, the GDPR requirements, the ability for an organization who's smaller to move towards full compliance with that is obviously seen favorably by that regime. So the solution, obviously we're promoting this is CyberSecure Canada program. It's targeted to small and medium-sized organizations, and we'll just abbreviate that as SMOs throughout. So it's based on 13 security control areas, and it's developed by the Canadian Centre for Cybersecurity. Participation is voluntary, and so that's in italics, and it is voluntary, but I do believe if I look at other jurisdictions and, how this is rolled out, in other countries, I think about Cyber Essentials certification, which we were involved with in Canada from the very early days. If you look at the UK, a lot of their supply chain is mandated to demonstrate compliance with Cyber Essentials. I think down the road you could see different regulated organizations or supply chain related organizations having more than a voluntary stamp on this. So it's not, from my perspective, not a bad idea to kind of get out ahead of it and consider that aspect of it. Certainly I have no specific information on that or any timelines, but I think it's just a natural progression of any certification standard. And at the end of the day, as it becomes more well-known and more popular, you're going to have larger organizations who want to control their own supply chain and may mandate it within that. So, I think that's an important market segment as well. So what's the process to get certified? We've identified the security controls that need to be put into play. Those need to be implemented. There are technical controls, there are policy and procedure controls, and once you feel like you have everything covered, gone through the list, checked all the boxes, you can submit your audit request application. You need to choose a partner to do the certifications, and that will be audited. So they'll look at the evidence that you've uploaded into the portal, or I think most organizations are using it at this point, but there is a portal system that allows you to go in and upload your documents, actually look at your progression, even interact with the auditors through that portal process. So once it's done and validated as complete, it's valid for 2 years. And at the end of that 2-year period, you have to recertify. But that's a nice little. Usually these things are annual, so I thought it was nice that this was a 2-year certification. Certainly, it can seem like you're just wrapping something up and then it comes up again and you got to redo it. So it gives you a little bit of breathing room. And if you've implemented these controls properly, it should certainly, cover a 2-year period. Not that something technical might come up that you need to implement in addition, but it will give you a good posture. And then if you don't meet the audit standard, you got to basically go back. I won't say to square one, but you got to go back and rejig and basically try that again. And there's a certain number that won't pass through the first time, but it is a really good iterative process. Your auditor is going to give you some guidance on why something failed, and something like that is, allows you to go back and redo and resubmit and get the certification. So this is a bit of an eye test, but these are the controls that need to be put into place. I'm going to quickly run through them because they're very important, right? So first and foremost, you need to have an incident response plan, and then you have to have security on your devices. So when you think about your laptops, your desktops, your mobile devices, that type of thing. Running backups and encrypting data is a very important control measure. Security software, your antivirus software, your anti-malware, those types of things need to be in play. You have to have a portable media policy and a way to deal with that. Use strong user authentication. So it's important that, in this day and age, for something that's highly secure, it should be a multi-factor authentication or have like 2 steps. You know how when you log into your bank and you need to have a code texted to you to go further into the site. That's the type of multi-factor authentication that's often being requested. Securing websites, securing mobility, implementing access control and authorization, and providing employee awareness training are key. And then the perimeter defenses is your typical firewalls. And of course, you want to do patch management across everything, because that's how we protect against malware. So this is what the mark looks like, and it's going to be more and more recognized as a valid certification stamp, and it's a easy way for organizations to let those customers and partners know that they're secure, and at the end of the day, they've decreased their cyber risk. So, how can Bulletproof help? And in the first instance, we can help you get certified. We are one of only a handful of certification bodies nationally accredited by the Standards Council of Canada to perform the CyberSecure certifications. I think there's 6 of them now. I think Bell Canada recently announced as well. So, it's for us, we started out early in the Cyber Essentials program, and we basically migrated that into the CyberSecure certification standard. So we've been doing this for a while. We certainly are very familiar with the process, and we have a large governance, risk, and compliance practice with probably around 35 people overall. So it's something that comes natural to us. We do certifications for ISO 27001 and those types of things as well. And so we'll provide that guidance on what information is required, how to upload it to the portal for evaluation. We'll review that. We'll look at your evidence submissions. We'll determine if there's any gaps. If there aren't any gaps, we provide the certification. And as I said before, otherwise we provide the feedback, give you some time to take a look at it again, maybe change something, maybe implement something additional, and then we'll review it again. So rough ballpark cost-wise, from us anyway, roughly a $1,500 fee. There's a little bit of variability depending on scope and the size of the organization and that type of thing, but it's fairly cost affordable, especially if you think about that being, for a 2-year period. So on the flip side, we are a managed service provider. We're a Microsoft Gold partner, lot of operational capabilities, and we've done the legwork to map our Microsoft powered solutions to our services to address those cyber secure controls. So, our Bulletproof 365 product is designed as a turnkey solution that's quick to deploy. It's highly effective, has a lot of enhanced security. It's for organizations that really want worry-free IT, and we thought it would be a really great add-on to make it basically a cybersecure ready solution. So it incorporates technical controls. We've folded in some policy procedure and even security awareness training to make that work. So this last year won the Microsoft Impact Award for modern workplace innovation, and we were very pleased to receive that national recognition on the product. The components are pretty powerful at the end of the day. We've built a lot of security into this, including security awareness training, phish testing, that type of thing, all backed by our 24/7 desk support, success management, which is your ongoing adoption program, your employee education and e-learning and those types of things that we can do to make this thing a success for you. And of course, it comes with all the stuff on the right, which is all the Microsoft protections that are built in, right? And you've got your Office productivity as well. And so the mapping that I was talking about, and this is another eye test, but this is basically how we've taken the CyberSecure baseline controls, so you can see them listed all out here, and mapped them to the Bulletproof 365 feature coverage, and then we've noted the pieces of Microsoft technology that are used to basically implement the control. And so at the end of the day, we know when we implemented all these pieces that we have covered off all the cybersecure control areas, and we're able to basically bring in another certification organization to certify that your solution as delivered by us is cybersecure ready and certified. And again, we would work with another certification body to do that. I know that a lot of people have those concerns of, on one hand being the certified auditor and on the other hand being the service provider. So we basically don't let the two cross. And at the end of the day, we have other partners in that ecosystem of 6 certification bodies who are able to come in and validate your solution so that we're not validating ourselves. And so I'd like to thank everyone for attending the session. I hope you guys found it informative, and I didn't intend for it to get too salesy at the end, but I did want to show that, if you want to do this rapidly, there is a really quick turnkey solution that can do it. And of course, you can build your own solution, and you can build your own solution around those Microsoft products. But at the end of the day, we've done a lot of the legwork to get that done. So I'm just going to leave my coordinates up here for a second if you want to jot them down or stay in touch. I'm always available for a reach out and appreciate the time.